Jiffy this morning in honor of his passing. My favorite Joe Diffie song, John Deere Green. So I'm jumping in this morning, and happy Monday to everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking out these videos every day. As I mentioned, I'm coming at you guys live every morning at 9 a.m. just till we get through this craziness that we're dealing with in America and everybody being home and not really knowing how to kind of cope with everything that's going on. I've been choosing different subjects based on, suggestions as well as kind of what's been on my heart. And today I'm actually here talking to you guys about depression and anxiety and dealing with that during this crazy time. I've talked to a lot of people. I've seen a lot of things. I had a friend reach out to me yesterday after watching my videos asking if I had anything that could help them deal with this, anxiety and depression during this time because they were really suffering from it. So I talked to them for a while yesterday, and then ironically, in the middle of the night, my husband, who does basically like a community outreach. I've talked about it a couple of times. He's a mobile crisis worker, but he got a call at 5 o'clock in the morning from somebody who was suffering from severe anxiety as a result of all of this. And he was on the phone with him for 2 hours. So, I mean, this is very real. And I think if we kind of just, again, I don't like to focus on the negative, but I do want to talk about how this could escalate and create problems. I think what's happened is over this period of time, um, people are starting to see that it really is closer to them than they thought. I mean, and personally, I'm just going to give you an example. I had taken a woman for a ride in Charleston who had said to me, this is going to impact America. She had watched, some stuff, and I was like, it's in China. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's people who travel, but I can't imagine that there's that many people that it's going to spread this quickly. I mean, for me personally, did not see this becoming what it became. Um, and it's just like it just became very, very real. I know that a friend of mine just talked to him this weekend, went to Louisiana and worked, and is now on a 14-day quarantine because there were 3 people who had confirmed cases in the area that he was in, and now he has to spend 14 days in an RV on his land away from his children and his wife. I also, it just, there seems to be a lot more hitting home with people who have actually been impacted or affected by this. So, when you suffer from depression and anxiety, you, you just you feel different than other people. And I didn't really, I mean, I had moments, I had bouts of depression throughout my life, but nothing that really impacted me in the way that it did when I left my children. When it just kind of seemed like out of nowhere, morning, Rhonda. um, Out of nowhere, it was like I just all of a sudden, was away from my kids, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to deal with like I mean, I had married my husband. We decided to move. It was just kind of a little more abruptly than I thought. I didn't have time to prepare and prepare myself emotionally. And so it just kind of really was overwhelming to me. But I, made a commitment to my marriage, made a commitment to my husband. I had always wanted to move south. I just wasn't quite ready to be away from my kids. And if you haven't noticed that central theme, like they mean the world to me. So it was just definitely something that, and I'm really uncomfortable talking about this, so I apologize because I'm all over the place. I'm not really somebody who shares my feelings, who's very open about stuff. So I know this conversation is probably a little awkward, and I apologize, but I am pushing through this because I do think it's very important to help people understand. What happened with me is I just became very withdrawn. And I'm only talking about this part of it. I know it sounds a little negative, but it's only so that you can understand what people go through so that we can talk about how to help them get through that. And it's a lot easier to identify if you can see it and you're looking for these symptoms. When you're depressed, I mean, nothing that was important to you is important to you anymore. I was somebody who listened to music every day, who, just love music, which I've started to incorporate, obviously, in the beginning of these videos. But it's like music was so important to me. I talked about all the things that were new and fresh and what was going on. And I love fashion and I loved, working out. And I loved a lot of other things that all of the sudden I didn't really care about. You know, um, I wanted to sleep. I wanted to just get away from life, escape life, because I felt like my life was so daunting and it just didn't feel like I was alive anymore. I felt like I was just surviving each day. And that's incredibly exhausting. If you've never dealt with it, it's just something that you feel so incredibly like weighed down. And I know that all I wanted to do was sleep. I knew I had to work, so I'd get up and work and then I'd sleep. And that's all my life was. And it was very, very like the fact that my life had become that, it's very cyclical here. We're kind of like going in this whole, motion because now my life is nothing but work and sleep, which is even more depressing. So, and having anxiety, I mean, I don't know. I really put myself out there about a month and a half ago or so, a month ago, maybe it was, because it was when I was packing to move and I just felt so overwhelmed with getting everything together by myself in South Carolina to move here to North Carolina and the anxiety of it all of are we going to have time to get everything together? Can I get all this done? It just amplified. And then when you add that to depression and all of those feelings, of being alone and being there and, not being with my children and my son having a baby and me not being able to be there and, all of these things. Now, this obviously is separate from what the world's going through now, but I do want you to kind of understand how these things can be impacted by that as well. So, you can start thinking about my friends are, have been exposed. What if I've done something? Yesterday, my husband with this migraine that it's still kind of lingering, but it's not as bad as it was yesterday or the day before. Um, my husband's like, well, wait a minute, what did you tell me? Because I was like, man, my whole body aches. This is really a bad migraine. I haven't had a bad migraine in a long time. And he starts saying stuff, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why would you say this to me? But he just said something about, well, didn't you send me all those symptoms for the coronavirus? And, aren't some of those symptoms? And I'm like, but I don't have a fever and I don't have a cough. And then I'm like, holy cow, wait, but let me look at these symptoms. So then I'd start becoming all consuming, right? So, and it kind of like we both had to talk me down for a minute, because he's like, Jackie, I was just kind of like and I'm like, no, but you don't understand how that overwhelms me and how that makes me. Now, I mean, I guess he does to a certain degree because he suffers from severe anxiety. Anxiety is just kind of a small part, but depression is definitely there. And so, anyway, I want to move on from this because I know I try to keep these to about 10 minutes, but kind of think about those symptoms and those things that might be affecting your loved ones or even yourself, when you're kind of looking at things and you don't really know or you haven't been diagnosed or you haven't really dealt with that. And maybe it's, there's different kinds of depression and situational depression is very, very real. So you may not have ever had depression before, but now this situation, this, life event is causing that. You may not have ever had anxiety. You could have situational anxiety as well. So, I mean, these are just things that could be happening. So keep your eyes open. Definitely, keep a lookout on your loved ones and kind of try to be aware of these things for yourself and for them. And the way that I have been coping with all of this, right? First of all, I'm coming to you guys. So thank you for tuning in because it helps me stay focused on living a normal life, right? Getting my routine, making sure that I'm up and I'm doing the things that I need to do before I get ready. I have a purpose. And that is huge when you're suffering from depression. So for me, and it's funny because I really genuinely started this as a way to give back, but it's also had a huge impact on me. And I've kind of mentioned that through a few of these videos, but it's really important for me that I've been able to do that. And it has had impact because I've had people reaching out to me, but it's also meant a lot to me. It's meant a lot to be able to really think about these things and come up with ways to talk to you guys and to help you through this because it's also helped me focused on helping myself through this as well. So the way that I have been able to cope with everything and deal with everything is really through exercise. Again, having a purpose, exercising, staying focused on working on my health and fitness, because these things help your mental health as well. So, when you're eating better, you're eating more nutritious, dense foods. When you are actually exercising and releasing those endorphins, you feel so much better. You feel so much more alive, if you will. As I mentioned before, how I felt really dead inside. I just felt like, when I was depressed, that I didn't have any reason to be happy or to enjoy the things that I enjoyed before. The other thing is communicating with your loved ones, communicating with people who can help you. Yesterday I felt completely at a loss because of the friend that was dealing with depression, and I didn't know how to help them. And I was just trying to talk to them, and I'm talking to my husband. My husband's like, well, unless I really, are they getting help? Are they reaching out? And, the friend was going through a really bad divorce, and she was that went on vacation, and she was going through something that she really needed help getting through, and she went online and she found like online therapist, and this was before all of this happened, but I know that that's very, very um available now. And so don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to get help when you need help, because sometimes it's just a small thing that helps get you through. And reach out to people right now who maybe are dealing with these things, and just say hi, how are you? I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook, and a lot of people responding like, hey, I'm just checking in on my family and friends, and that is amazing. That is so wonderful. But sometimes, people with depression and anxiety, they don't want to put themselves out there. They see it and they're like, okay, great, but do they really care about me, or are they just putting that out there to get, other people to respond? And is it just people who are, doing okay that are responding? I mean, and I'm just kind of, again, playing devil's advocate and really trying to think of this from a different angle. Reach out to them directly. Let them know that you care. Because when they're spiraling out of control, they're not going to think about those other things. They're not going to look at that, and they're not going to want to respond to that. So, say something to them. Say something to them that lets them know that you care about them and that they're important to you, because they need to hear that, especially during this time. And, I mean, there have been different times in my life that I've been incredibly grateful that I have the family that I have. And just running into somebody at the grocery store that no matter how depressed I am, I have to go, especially when I had small children or children, teenage children that were constantly eating, right? And running into that person, as much as because you become incredibly reclusive. You don't, like, you basically turn inside of yourself, and you don't want to deal with the world around you. You don't know how to deal with the world around you anymore, because you don't know who you are. And it's a very scary place to be when you're like, what is important to me? What makes me tick? What am I passionate about? Nothing right now, and I've had that answer several times. So, when I've asked myself, but it's like when you connect with that person and they force you to talk to them, whether you want to or not, and all of a sudden you feel better. All of a sudden you feel like, okay, I remember who I used to be. I remember that life that I loved. And, um, people need that right now. They need to know that they're important. And focusing, and I'm going way over and I apologize, but this is a super important topic, and I want to make sure that I am definitely getting information out there that's going to help you and help you help other people. So forgive me for going a little bit long today. But, the other thing, and this is why I'm really doing these as well, is putting positivity out there. There's so much negativity throughout our feeds, and I'm seeing more and more, and I love it. And it makes me so happy to see people doing things that are positive and that are having an impact, hopefully on other people's lives. But they're putting, positive things out there on their feed. So it's just not all focusing on the negative. Yesterday, after I had that conversation with my husband, what I ended up doing was actually going to YouTube, and at first I was checking out symptoms and how people are dealing with it. And then I saw all these things about people recovering, right? People recovering from the coronavirus, people recovering from all of this. So I started watching those videos and how they've overcome this. And I was like, there is hope, and the fact is that most people who contract this have mild cases. They don't end up in the hospital necessarily. They don't, when you look at the overall numbers, the likelihood, and that calm my anxiety, that calmed me down a little bit. But also just, not even specifically related to this, just putting positivity out there, helping people, ways to help people, whether it be jokes. I have a friend who's a teacher who's been doing trivia. She did a friend's trivia and an office trivia and, all this fun stuff. She just went live and did these trivias. And, I thought about doing, because I love music so much and it's so important to me, I thought about doing like a name that tune and, all this different stuff. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to inundate everybody with me on their feed when I'm already doing these daily lives to help people out. But it's just like, thinking of those things, like what can you do to give back? What can you do to help people get through this? Because there are people who are genuinely suffering, and there are people who are genuinely having anxiety about this, whether or not they've ever suffered with it before, it is now impacting their lives. So, focus on positivity, focus on your loved ones. You know, every day with depression is just kind of making yourself do things that you don't necessarily want to do. I've seen a lot of people on TikTok, because that is kind of a reprieve for me, watching the silly videos, making silly videos. Um, but seeing people on there that's dealing with depression, and every day they get up and, they're like, okay, today I'm trying to get out of this funk and I'm trying to deal with this. So I am now putting on makeup today. I'm doing my hair. I want to feel, normal again. So, just putting one foot in front of the other and helping your loved ones and friends do that is so, so important. So, think about what you can do today. Reach out to 5 people, just say hi. Just ask them how they're doing. Let them know. I mean, I know that I've had a few people that I've done that to, that I just became friends with on Facebook or Instagram, and some people answer and some people don't. But I've actually made some great connections with people that I didn't really know before. And some people are like, yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm doing great. We're getting through this. And I even had a girl that I never talked to before that offered, because I told her how we literally have not been able to find toilet paper here for 3 weeks. Kid you not. Um, and she was like, you can have some of mine. And that meant so much to me. I was like, oh my God, you don't even know me and you're offering me your toilet paper. Like, that was like, okay, we're friends forever now. But those small gestures, right? Those small things, they make a huge difference in people's lives who are really suffering from depression and anxiety. Um, Also encourage, or if you are suffering and really are having a hard time pulling yourself out of it, because sometimes you're stubborn like me and don't want to get help, um, but sometimes you just need that. You just need a little bit of help. And sometimes friends and family can do that. Sometimes you need a therapist. I'm just going to be real with you right now. So reach out, go online, find somebody who specializes in depression and anxiety, or whatever it is that may be causing this, problem for you right now. Find somebody who can help you. Find somebody who has experience with this, and reach out to them, because you need it, and it's only going to make your life better. And I know right now it feels like you're probably swimming in craziness, but start taking these little steps each day, and I promise you'll start feeling better. And again, if you're somebody who's around somebody who's dealing with this, please help them. Please help them through this, because it's super duper important. I know that, again, my husband and I, since we both have a little bit of anxiety and depression, we can kind of like not really help each other like yesterday. But also it was funny, because after he realized that he kind of set me in a little bit of a panic, he kind of was like, okay, but calm down for a second. And he was amazing. He's just an amazing man, and I'm incredibly grateful to have him in my life. And it was funny, because afterwards, actually I think it was beforehand, he was outside and he's cleaning the yard, and I, took him out some ice water, and he doesn't like me to mess with what he's doing, so I stayed inside and was doing some other stuff trying to deal with my headache. And it was just nice to kind of have that moment together. And I had to stop and think about, and he even mentioned when he came in, he's like, it's really nice to actually have this time to spend with you and to do these things that I normally wouldn't have time to do. Throughout our marriage, I've worked in food and bev, and he's worked a lot of jobs where he worked nights. And so it was like and I always worked days and then days and not days. And so, like, we really haven't had a lot of time to just spend together and be together outside of our wedding and vacation and stuff like that. So, um, having weekends were completely unheard of. So to have a Sunday where he's out working in the yard and I was cooking or doing things for us, and just to be able to spend that time together, like, again, while you're dealing with depression and anxiety, like, we were trying to focus on the positive, right? We have this. Good morning, Kristen. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know this is an incredibly long video, but I felt like it was super important to really talk about all of those things. Um, because there are so many people who are suffering right now. So please, 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 listen to the video, think about the things that could be impacting your loved ones, watch out for those certain things. Oh, you're so welcome. It's really hard for me to open up about this kind of stuff, but after having the conversation that I had yesterday, after, seeing so many things, and I am trying so hard throughout this entire thing not to cry because I know I can be a big baby. Um, I just feel like this is something that I really needed to open up about and talk about because I personally deal with it. And I know that there are so many people out there who do. So please, please keep your eyes out. Please help them through this because sometimes it is incredibly difficult to pull yourself out of this and you don't want to feel this way. You don't. You don't want to be a burden on anybody. You don't want to feel like you can't control your emotions. That this is just one more thing that you're not in control of, right? So help them through this, help them get help if they need that. Try to focus on the positive. Show them this video, show them that they're not alone. Tag your friends, tag people. Again, as I continue to go through this and talk about all these different issues that you guys may or may not be dealing with, or may come across, tag your friends, let them know that, again, they're not alone, that there's information out there and there's things that they can do to help them through it. So I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And until then, oh, I forgot, I am adding these videos on YouTube. So go ahead and go over there. I specifically had, private videos that I used for my business, but I started using that same channel for these videos so that we can keep them a little bit more, or I should say, keep them a little bit more organized so that people aren't hunting through my Facebook page or going through my IG feed to be able to find the videos that they maybe want to watch or share with their friends. So they are available in order. I didn't get the first couple, but after that, I think I started a video 3. So go ahead and go there, like, subscribe, share, whatever, is going to help you guys get through this because, again, that's what I'm doing this for. But thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I promise that I'm going to try to keep it closer to 10 minutes. But it was really nice seeing you guys, and I hope you have an amazing day. Until then, be active and be happy.